Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So this is a little bit of a different video. We're sitting down with the new backdrop which I got for my birthday, which I'll have that video linked down below for you guys. This is a video that's long overdue. I've been saying for a few years now that I'm gonna do it, and I just have never sat down and actually filmed it for you guys. As you probably know from the title of the video, either up here or down here, this is all about my puppy and the Canine Addison's disease that we found out she had. So to obviously run down a couple of things, when we got her, no, we didn't know that she had this. This is super rare. This is not a breeding issue. This is just something that was a fluke and something that happened to us. It is very unusual for this to happen to small dogs from our understanding of what our vet has told us. So this is more of a medium dog upwards issue normally, but these things happen and I did vlog about it, so I'll leave that linked in the iCard and down below if you want to check out that vlog and the actual in the moment freaking out, because I believe this happened over Vlogmas during COVID. All that being said, let's just jump on in and let me sort of explain what happened. So all this very quickly went downhill. It all happened within a week and happened very quickly. Within a few days we noticed she was really sick, and then she proceeded to spend the next few days in the hospital, and at one point we truly did believe we had lost her, which was devastating. I really want to put out there that we are forever grateful and still are grateful because they continue to treat her, to the RSPCA, particularly the RSPCA hospital near us, because if they hadn't been as quick and active and taken her when they did, we probably wouldn't have her today, and she probably wouldn't have the medication she does either. If you are disabled or you're living in low income and you need help with your pets, obviously in this cost of living crisis we are living in, they do discounted / free veterinary care for people who need that support. I'll leave the RSPCA website linked down below so you can get further information, because services depend on your area and your hospital, vet, etc., and what income and benefits and all those other things that you get. We personally donate to our local vet hospital because that is where Dory goes, and also because then that direct money either goes onto our puppy or it goes onto helping somebody else who may need that support in our area getting the required medication. We choose to donate usually every other month, but we do put in quite a large amount and do put, you know, any excess could go towards somebody else's treatment plan. If you can and you do want to donate to the RSPCA, please go to your local one and donate there, because then the funds go directly to your local RSPCA and will help keep that particular veterinary practice open near you, helping as many local animals as possible. If you'd rather just donate via the website, you can donate there and it gets spread out across all the vets. All that being said, I'm now going to start my story. We first noticed something was off with our little puppy when she seemed to be off her food. Now this was not something that we were overly concerned with at the beginning, because she has days where she really won't eat anything more than her breakfast, but we started to notice that her breakfast had been sat there for a good couple of days. So when we felt her stomach, it seemed to be a little hard, so we thought, okay, she's not being able to have a bowel movement. So we brought her some fiber supplements that we put in. She was eating them. They kind of helped, and we got a little bit of a very runny bowel movement, but it was very little, and her stomach still seemed to be quite hard, which is when we started to have some concerns. So we ended up ringing, because our vet at the time was closed due to COVID. We rang the local RSPCA and they sort of said, okay, she's still drinking water, let's keep an eye on her and just be vigilant. So for the next couple of days we were giving her sort of water and then what they suggested a sort of energy, a dog version of like a glucosade drink to try and keep her energy up, and she was drinking very little of both substances, which was decreasing as the next sort of 24 hours went by. We weren't letting her sleep on her own. She very rarely is allowed upstairs, but on this occasion I said to Mom, you know, you've been up with her pretty much the last 24 hours. Let me take her. So I brought her upstairs and she was very lethargic. She was very snuggly. Now, a puppy is all very snuggly, but she's not one to sort of lay in the corner and not move all day. She very much gets the zoomies and she'll run around and she wants to play, and she wasn't doing any of those things. And she was really struggling to jump up on furniture. She couldn't get herself up on the couch. She couldn't get herself up on the bed. And these are things that she's very capable of doing. We were aware that she was very small. If I can find a picture of before all this, I'll leave it up on the screen here. She seemed very small compared to her paw size, but we were just told that she was the runt of the litter, so it was nothing to be concerned about. This is not actually true. So going back to the water issue, she would normally have 2 bowls of water in the day, sometimes 3. She really wasn't even getting through 1. We weren't really even getting her through like a quarter of that bowl, which was more concerning than her not eating. We were very worried she was going to become dehydrated. Because of this, she was no longer going on walks. We weren't comfortable taking her on walks and exerting her any more than she needed to be, because she wasn't eating and she wasn't drinking. And so we just made the decision to cut her walks until we could figure out what was wrong, especially as she wasn't having any bowel movement. She really wasn't going to the bathroom at all. So the night I brought her up to bed, I noticed that evening she hadn't been to the bathroom, she wasn't eating, and she wasn't drinking anything. And as I said, she was just so lethargic. She couldn't jump up, she couldn't really do anything, and all she wanted to do was lay in my side, and I was happy to hold her. I had my hand over her sort of chest area and I was monitoring her breathing, because I didn't want her to have any problems breathing or have a cardiac issue without one of us knowing and being able to jump into action as quickly as possible. We did ring the vet, who the lady we spoke to was a little rude at the time. We did leave a comment about it at that moment in time, who said it'll be nothing, just keep an eye on her. So we did till that evening. It was roughly 11 o'clock and 11 o'clock, and she suddenly got up off the bed, up on the bed, and she wanted down. She wouldn't jump down, so I got her down. She walked out into our hallway, and I noticed she was very she couldn't walk straight and she was swaying, and that's very unusual. So I instantly got up and I started to follow her, and she got just outside in the hallway and she just fell onto her side, and she started this very clear, slightly bubbly foam out of her mouth, and she just went completely limp. And as I said, she had this like foaming drawl coming from her mouth. So I screamed for my mother, who comes up halfway up the stairs telling her she needs to ring the vet now. She rings, explains everything, says she's gone completely limp. She's kind of got this foaming drawl from her mouth. She can't hold her head up. She can't hold her weight on her legs at all. And during this time, I've gone and grabbed her blanket. I've completely wrapped her in it like a baby, because when she has been sick in the past, like when she had her, when she got spaded and things like that, she likes that comfort. She likes to be warm. She likes to be held. So I knew when she was this sick, that's what she needed. I managed to kind of completely baby her up, and I pulled the blanket over her head. Dogs can't communicate with us, so I didn't know if light was bothering her, and I wanted to just protect her as much as possible. So I had her bundled and I was carrying her around. During this time, while doing that, while Mom's on the phone with the vet, I rang my dad, because my little brother is asleep, so I obviously couldn't take her. And my dad rushes up, who takes my mom and the dog, who at this point we've been told you need to rush her to the local RSPCA hospital right this minute. So Dad drives them up there, and because of COVID, we just have to hand her over, which makes my mom cry. Her breathing during the journey there had got weaker, and Mom could barely feel it, so she was very freaked out. And for the next 24 hours, we were sort of just living on an edge. Little one was not told anything other than Poppy. The puppy was at the hospital and she was going to be there for a few days. We had a phone call. I have a vlog on it. I'll leave it linked up above and down below. And we were told that her kidneys had shut down and her heart had stopped. Luckily, they managed to get her heart going again, and which was scary, and so were her kidneys. Her kidneys were starting to work, which explained why she couldn't go to the bathroom, specifically peeing. And the only reason this was possible was because we got her there in time. The likelihood is that the way she collapsed, her heart probably would have stopped that night, and because we wouldn't have known, she wouldn't have been saved. So my quick thinking and my mother doing as I was asking of her, and us rushing her up there, saved our dog's life that day. And I'm forever grateful to the head veterinary team there at RSPCA who looked after her and were with her 24/7 for the first, I believe, 48 hours. So also during this phone call, we were told the likelihood is they thought that her back legs were likely paralyzed due to the fact that she had gone into cardiac arrest. Now during this time, my mother got very upset, handed the phone over to my dad got all the information. She'd be able to use her front legs. They thought she would never be able to use her back legs again, and so we were looking into doggy wheelchairs and doggy pushchairs and things like that. Some of these things, the dog pushchair, things like that, we still have, and I'll explain that later in the video. This obviously upset all of us. Even my dad got teary-eyed about it. She is part of the family and we love her greatly. And this was a 60-40, so 60% chance that she wouldn't walk again. The biggest concern was the fact that the way the kidneys shut down, as far as they were concerned, they shouldn't have started back up again. And so they asked permission to run some more tests and some more thorough tests and different tests that they wouldn't normally run. So this was the head vet, and she noticed signs of something not quite being right, which is leading us to our diagnosis. So this, after giving permission, this started the terrifying wait for the next 12 to 24 hours of waiting on these test answers. We were also told that the next 24 hours were also critical. If her heart stopped again, there was a high chance that even if they did get her heart going again, this would be something that happened again and again and again. And so we would have to make the decision of, even if they got her back the second time, would it be cruel to having them keep bringing her back. Luckily, this was not a decision we had to make, but we had come to a mutual full understanding of the adults in this situation that if a second time happened and they brought her back, we were going to sign a piece of paperwork that said not to bring her back a third time. Luckily, we didn't have to think about that, and she did not have and has not had another cardiac issue since the original. But those first 24 hours, as we waited for these test results, were extremely anxious and terrifying, and were very critical. And we are very aware we got very lucky in that situation, and there are some other parents who haven't been so lucky in our footsteps, in our situation like that. We got the diagnosis. We got told she had Canine Addison disease and what exactly that meant. And basically that means there are certain hormones that her pancreas just does not produce, which led to her kidney issue, her heart issue, and basically because she wasn't pushing out these hormones, her body went into shutdown because it was constantly anxious and it couldn't work efficiently and keeping her calm, but also just doing everyday things like eating and drinking and processing certain food was really hard for her. So once we got that diagnosis, they put her on an intense course of IV medication, making sure that worked, and we were told this would be a 48-hour process. Some of the other issues that we were told were caused by the Addisons was her size. So the fact that she was a little smaller than she was supposed to be comes down from the fact that her body wasn't producing the right hormones. This wasn't something I would normally test smaller dog for, and also wasn't common among smaller dogs. So, and it's a test that is actually usually quite expensive and is only done when absolutely necessary. So the fact that she had got to the state she was in and pretty much was on death's doorstep, as terrifying as it was for that whole 48, 72 hours was actually probably the thing that saved her life and got her the right diagnosis, which led to the right medication. So while we're waiting, I go back to Dad's, because at this point we can live between the two bubbles of houses, and I had been with everybody consistently for the whole time. And so my dad said to me, you need to go back to the other end, you need to chill out, I'm gonna look after them for a couple of days, and you need to just process, let yourself cry, let yourself sleep, because that's stuff I try not to do around Lillian too much, and my mom really struggled with the idea of losing our puppy. So I was holding it in, and my dad knew it was starting to affect my mental health. So I went to my dad's house, and I let myself really kind of grieve. I cried, and I also give you guys an update. I'll leave that vlog in the iCard and down below. Once I did the update, I showered, I let myself cry, I got into comfy clothes. I made the decision to just not think about it and not worry about it, because there was nothing I could do. There was absolutely nothing I could do. I'm not a vet. I have no veterinary skills other than how I look after her daily, and I do what they tell me to do. So I just focused on being calm and letting myself relax and sleep. I needed the sleep. My mom rings me that night and says they got a phone call and she's doing really, really well. She's improved greatly, that she has finally started to drink. So my mom rings me first thing the next morning. She got a phone call first thing in the morning from the vet who says she had a great night. She had some food, she had water, she's been to the bathroom, and she actually sat in her little kennel that they had there for her, and she didn't cry, and she's even played a little that morning. They also said they'd be ringing us back and giving us a bit more of an explanation, which is when we got, because she rerun the test, and that's when we got a complete confirmation that Dory had Canine Addison's disease and exactly what this meant. And also the fact that it was very rare, and it's actually even rarer in small dogs. And basically what had happened the night we rushed her to the hospital is what they call an Addison's crisis. Basically the body realizing it doesn't have enough of the particular hormone, and the pancreas starting freaking out, and it's either trying to push out hormones that it doesn't have, or it overproduces. We believe it was trying to push out hormones that Dory's little body and little pancreas just didn't have. You can get Addison's in humans, so I'll leave that link down below as well if you're interested in just reading up more on both. And as we said, that actually what happened that night, and us rushing her there and being as active and sort of speedy as we were, saved her life. And also the fact that she went into crisis also saved her life, because it got her the right diagnosis. They were keeping her on pain medication and things like that because they still weren't entirely sure how much mobility she would have. What mobility she did have was very short-lived, because she needed to rest a lot, and she also, what they believed was, she had a permanent shake. Which she still does have, it's just not all the time. So for the next 2 days, she really improved to the point where the vet said it'd actually be worse for her to stay here. They had removed the IV drip from her. She does have a permanent scar on her front leg, and she was having the best life. She was playing and she was with other puppies and things like that, but she was also looking around for us. She had whined a couple of times when the door opened and she thought it was one of us coming to get her, and so the head vet said, hey, we've moved her from IV medication to a tablet, let's get her home, let's see how she does. They kept her one last night though, just in case, and so that evening they said they were going to just keep an eye on her one more night without the IV in, make sure that the tablet meds are 100% working, and then they would ring us, let us know. Well, first thing in the morning, they ring mum. I wasn't even awake yet. It was like 8 a.m. and they got a phone call because they were all up at this end to say, hey, come get her. She is bouncing and she's just ready to go home. So they rush up there, and according to my dad, I wish I had him film it on his phone. She come running out of there in her lead. She was jumping, excited. She was so happy to see mom. She was really happy to get in the car and see Bubba, my dad, and little one. And little one even cuddled her, and it was a very sweet moment apparently. And of course, They then rang me on the way home from the vet, and of course I was still waking up at this point, and I instantly, when I saw Mom's name on my phone, I will admit, I answered and said, "Oh my god, what's wrong?" Slightly panicked. Mom laughed, my dad laughed because it was on speaker, and he said, no, it's good news, because Mom was too busy cuddling with the puppy, and they were on speaker, and said she's come home. And I have to admit, I cried. I did cry a little bit. So we got her in Monday night. She got the diagnosis by Wednesday lunchtime, which is when she also started her medication, and by this first thing Saturday morning, she was home. She does still get a little wobbly sometimes, and she is a bit of klutz, but since being on her medication, the shaking is minimal, and it's only really when she's extremely stressed or upset and frightened. And she has grown so much. She is back. The vets say she is 100% at the right height and weight that she should be for her age. She is, I believe, 5 or 6. So she is fully grown. She is fully the height and weight she's supposed to be. All her teeth are perfect, all her ears. She has a good bowel movements, and we've had no concern since going on her medication. She was home about a month when I took her back in, and they said no, she still needs this daily medication, a pill medication, but once a month we need to give her an injection just to help with her pancreas really produce the right amount of hormones in her body. So once a month, every 4 weeks, we take her to the vet. She gets her jab, she gets her nails done, she has a full checkup, which is something that the vet says she needs. So this is what we do every month, and she actually really likes our vet, which makes us very happy. When she did get home, we decided to, because the vet had suggested a better kibble, we slowly transitioned her to the kibble that the vet suggested. We also changed her wet food, so it's a little bit more of a high protein diet for her, which is better for her Addisons. And our puppy is very picky, but she loves the food she's on now, and she takes her tablet like a champ. We just put it on top of her food and she gobbles it up. No issues at all. As for her walking, we are back to walking her. We walk her up to 3 times a week, as the vet suggests, for up to 45 minutes. We never go over the 45 minutes. Again, that is vet recommended because of the Addisons. Over walking her would stress her body out too much. If your dog is sick and you need advice on exercising them, both mentally and physically, do go off what your vet recommends, not a dog trainer, because depending on their issue, a dog trainer might not know what's best for them and their body in that situation. And honestly, our little puppy is back to herself. She gets the zoomies in the evening, and she loves to play and cuddle and run around, and she is perfect the way she is, even with the canine Addison's disease, and we are just forever grateful that she is still here with us. So I know I am going to get asked, what exactly is canine Addison's disease? Now, as I said in the video, you can actually get Addison's disease as a human, so I'll leave everything linked down below, but this is what we were basically told. Addison's disease is the common name for hypoadrenocorticism. I'll leave it on the screen here, which is caused by a decrease of hormone production from the outer part or cortex of the adrenal gland. So not the pancreas, I'm sorry, I keep saying pancreas in the video, but it's adrenal gland. There are some videos already on YouTube about what canine Addison's disease is, so if I can find them, I'll leave those, or I remember to, I'll leave those linked in the description box down below. Dory, as I said in the video, Dory is not the usual breed or at risk of having this disease, and so even though it does happen, it is very rare, and there is only a handful of known cases of canine Addison's disease, either because it's something that is caught after death, or because they didn't notice the symptoms and they didn't link to what it could be, and because the test is so expensive, it is something that most people won't be willing to pay for, and most vets or insurances won't pay for either. I will leave everything linked down below, including the RSPCA's link to what canine Addison's disease is, and I am just grateful that my puppy is here and doing so well. And as I said at the very beginning of this video, thank you to the RSPCA. It means a lot, all the work that you did for my dog and continue to do for my puppy. Hey guys, thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up for me, guys. Also click that subscription button down below. Check out the social medias that are appearing on the screen around my face so that you can get a more behind the scenes look of what happens when I'm not filming these videos, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye guys.